Welcome to the Fascia-Informed Therapist podcast, designed for health and wellness practitioners interested in fascia science. I'm Amy Mayer, occupational therapist, practice owner, author, and educator with more than 30 years of experience using fascia techniques across many settings. Each episode brings practical insights and thought-provoking conversations to help you expand your skills and better serve your clients. Let's get started. Hi, this is Amy, and this is another edition of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. And I've taken a little break, as you may or may not have noticed. I did a short episode in late October after my dad went to the hospital. And then I did do another episode that I had already sort of put together and found time to record. I think that was on October 26th. Today is December the 2nd, so I took a little break. So I did a little episode on my dad after he went into the hospital and my experience of how someone like my dad was received in that setting. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to that, then my dad has a long-term neurodegenerative disease that is MS-like, Parkinson's-like, ALS-like, but he was essentially doused by pesticides a long time ago. If you're curious, go back and listen to the podcast. Anyway, went into the hospital, his body very contracted, his voice no longer works. He can make sounds, but rarely can he put together an intelligible word, because of the weakness of his vocal cords, not because he is not cognitively sound. He was very cognitively sound through most of his hospital stay. He was there for 10 days and incredibly was able, after double pneumonia, sepsis, and an infection of his heart valve, he was able to come off high flow, get down to 2 liters of oxygen, and was able to return home. And his home was long-term care, where he had resided for the past 8 years, and the people there love him and he loves them. We were so excited that he was going to be able to get to go home. My dad was fully involved in the decision-making process of getting him there. And unfortunately, within just over 24 hours of being home, he lost hope and decided he no longer wanted to take the treatment for the heart valve. And within 3 days, we were on hospice. He was no longer cognitively present. He could identify me and say my name and smile at my presence, but couldn't answer pretty much any other question coherently. And then started the increasing in stress and anxiety that often comes with the dying process. And he passed away on November 1st, which was very fitting of my dad, who was a very devout Catholic and extremely kind and saint-like person. And if you don't know, November 1st in the Catholic tradition is considered All Saints' Day. So anyway, the funeral was on November 7th, and then after that, being the eldest in the family now, my responsibility to make all the arrangements and then do all the post business that comes with someone's passing, and that continues still. It's not done and probably won't be done for a while, but after spending so much time in the hospital with my dad, and then the decision-making process of deciding on hospice, because he couldn't help me. He was no longer cognitively present to make that decision with me fully. So I just needed some time. And the time that I spent with my dad was actually time that I had blocked out to be in Arizona and have a 2.5-week recovery period post writing the book. So that didn't happen. The universe had other plans for me at that time. And so I'm in Arizona now, not for 2.5 weeks, not for 2.5 weeks, but for about 10 days. So I'm trying to get a nice rest, but I felt some motivation finally to work on a couple podcasts, and just did one that'll be posted after this one that I'm sure you'll find interesting. Okay, so what I would like to talk about in this episode is the upcoming continuing education event that's going to be in March. This was originally scheduled for September, but I didn't have the bandwidth to offer it post-book. I was a little burnout, as I've mentioned on this podcast before, and the illness and death of my father on top of that did not help. But I have felt more motivation. I feel back on track, maybe not fully, but I'm excited about the agenda I've put together for the workshop, and I would love to take a few minutes to tell you about it. Now, before I do that, I'm not sure what episode of this podcast we're on. It looks like 75. So there's probably people who have joined in, maybe who have not gone back to the original podcast, so that you know who I am and why am I talking about these things. So I'll try to be brief, but I've been an occupational therapist now for 34, almost 35 years. I've got my bachelor's in psychology at Iowa State University, my master's in OT at Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then went back and got my doctorate in occupational therapy at Creighton University in 2007. I have certifications in quite a big variety of things that are alternative related, natural movement, Reiki, yoga, and there's others, but not important right now, I guess. I learned myofascial work from a colleague in my very first job, in the first few months of starting my OT career. The physician that we worked with in our rehab unit really wanted more non-medication based methods of helping clients with pain. Very forward thinking. One of our senior therapists went to learn myofascial work, and I can't even tell you for sure what brand it was. I think it was Barnes, but I'm not sure. She taught me the skills, and the skills definitely align with the Barnes classes I took later. And I was just pretty amazed at how much this technique was helpful to the clients that I was working with. And pretty soon I was working with a full caseload of clients with pain, and I was integrating what I learned from my colleague in terms of a hands-on skill set to affect the fascial system, and combining that with what I knew as an occupational therapist and how to look at body mechanics and ergonomics and stress management, and integrating all those things together literally in my first year of being an OT. And I was pretty fascinated by the whole fascia thing, because I remembered being in our dissection lab and asking what the white stuff was and being told it wasn't important. And that set me on a journey of what is going on and what is fascia, and moving into different settings throughout my career and having people telling me what I was doing was voodoo. It wasn't scientifically based and I shouldn't be doing it. And my response was, but it's working. And if it's helping my clients, why can't I? I at that time, I mean, wasn't a lot of research to support a lot of things that we do. A lot of it was theoretical in nature. So if I stop doing one thing, should I stop doing everything that doesn't have a sound scientific base? But anyway, I just continued looking, searching, going to the local university library, and then the internet came about and started finding things that could explain to me more about what this fascia was, And I think the Anatomy Trains from Thomas Myers was the first book I found that actually had some science in it. And then so heavily referenced got me into finding a lot of other articles, and that intersected with a lot of the other things that I was learning with yoga and with natural movement, and it just put me on this path of, okay, there are a lot of other things that we can be teaching our clients that aren't hands-on modalities, that we can empower people in so many ways with what we know about the fascial system. And so my journey took me into higher ed. I taught at Creighton I was employed by Creighton for 20 years. I did a lot of management, program development for them, and then went into the teaching academic side and found I really have a love for teaching. I've always taken students throughout my entire career as soon as I could, because I believe I can learn from them as well. I'm a learner on the Clifton Strength Finders. I love to learn about these things, and fascia has been my passion for a very, very long time, and the understanding and the application of the science to help people know that this is something we should pay attention to. And my experience has been that people who are in private practice, like myself, are really open to these kinds of things, but there's still such a resistance to anything fascia related by a lot of practitioners who practice in more traditionally based settings. And that they're open to little bits of it here and there. Like, I know fascia is being talked about a little bit more in the lymphatic world. I had a hand therapist tell me one time, oh yeah, I know a lot about fascia. So I don't know exactly where it's being plugged in, but I do know in a lot of programs, OT programs, it's still not being covered. So there's a lot of learning to be had out there, and I think there's a lot of innovation that can be had by understanding the science of the fascial system and learning from people who are out there applying it, like myself. So I'm not only an educator, I'm a practitioner. I left my academic job in 2018 to start a private practice, and I feel like I'm where I belong. My practice includes seeing clients on a regular basis and applying everything that I'm sharing on this podcast, everything that I share in my CE. It's not theoretical to me because it's applied. I'm using it every single day. I take students in my practice and have brought on 2 of them as independent practitioners who work with me, have taught them what I know and how I apply it, and now they're doing the same thing, and then they're growing it and changing it based on their experiences and what they have learned independently from me. So that is basically my journey in a very small nutshell. But I really truly believe that when more practitioners of all types, OT, PT, massage, nursing, chiropractic, would learn more about what the fascial system is, what it does in the body, there's going to be so much innovation going on. The National Institute of Health is really paying attention to fascia. I don't know what the current state of their funding is for it now, but there has been a lot of funding directed at the fascial system in order to better understand it, being able to diagnose problems, to image it. And as I want in particular, my field, occupational therapy, to be on the forefront, to be ready when the medical field is paying more attention and is looking for people who understand the fascial system, know how to treat it, know how to approach it, that we are ready for that. And any other field that will listen, because I have found in my 30 plus years that it's never one thing that works for anybody. It's a multitude, it's layers, it's different perspectives, it's different approaches that when combined together make the difference in somebody's quality of life. So I have been offering continuing education for therapists for many, many years now. I have spoken at many state conferences. I have spoken at the National OT Conference many times in the past, never on fascia, but on many other topics, including education. And I have delivered continuing education events in Colorado, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, of course, Kansas, Arizona, and hope to continually spread out from there to anybody who will have me. And some of those have been volunteer, many of those have been paid. So people are starting to look for this information, and I am super happy to share. So our spring event in March is going to be at my office in Omaha, Nebraska. And it's going to be a 2-day event. And we're calling this a Fascia-Informed Practice, an Experiential CE Weekend for practitioners. And of course, as always, designed by me, an occupational therapist. And I'm hoping a lot of OTs. We've already got 4 OTs signed up. But again, it's open to any practitioner that is open. The class size is limited to 14 because I highly value a small class size and being able to make sure everybody gets hands-on feedback, hands-on experiences, and just I think that is so important, especially when you're learning something hands-on. So let me back up, March 28th and 29th. And it's going to be 2 6-hour days with a half-hour lunch. And I'm limiting it to 6 hours because I want it to be super enjoyable. I don't want it to be one of those weekends where they just try to pack so much in and everybody's exhausted. You're so exhausted that you can't learn. I've done those weekends where you do 6 hours on Friday and then 10 hours on Saturday and 10 hours on Sunday. And it's no fun. And I don't want to be exhausted either. So 6 hours will make it, I think, will be the sweet spot so that we're all fresh the second day and everybody's having an enjoyable time. The way that I designed this workshop is I want it to be fully experiential. I want the practitioners who are coming to the workshop to feel everything in their own bodies, because we have fascia too. And when you feel it in your own body, you will be more empathetic with your clients. You will be able to say, I've felt it, I've experienced it, and you can better communicate your experience to your clients. So this is not a lecture, and I'm not trying to give you a specific formula. It will be very intellectual and science-based, but it will also be very body-centered. You're going to feel things, you're going to move, you're going to assess yourself, you're going to assess each other, you're going to treat yourself, you're going to treat each other. And I really want you to be immersed in the experience so that you feel like when you get back to whatever your practice setting is, you feel like you can start using everything right away. So here's what I want. And if you go to fasciainformed.com and you go to continuing education, up in the menu, you will find exactly what I'm sharing with you right now. So what I want you to walk away with, a deeper embodied understanding of fascia and how it can impact client outcomes. Safe, effective hands-on techniques that you can integrate with whatever your current approach is. Tools and assessments that you're going to recognize that treat the fascial system and fascial dysfunction. Strategies to help change client habits, their posture, their movement that's going to help support healing and lasting change for them. And ultimately, a new lens that you can look and see your client as a whole person, seeing the fascia as a body system that encompasses every other body system. I want you to be curious, I want you to feel transformed, and I want you to be ready for practice. So here's kind of what it's shaped like. I decided to make it exactly how I want to teach it. After writing the book, after doing the podcast for, a year and a half now, I feel like I have such a broader perspective. And after taking all of it and applying it in practice, I feel like I know how I want to teach it. And so I've structured this exactly how I want it. So when you sign up for the weekend course, you're going to get a link to take you into the online fascia science course. And this is Fascia Science Foundation. So this is a more abbreviated version of our bigger integrating fascia science into practice course. So this is about a 4 to 5 hour online course where you get the latest research and what the fascia system is and what it does in the body. So this would be if you came and did this in person, it would feel more like a lecture. I want you to be able to read through that at your own pace, and I want everybody to have the same understanding. The latest research, when you show up for the in-person weekend, we're all on the same page. And when I taught at Creighton, I had the students, they had to prove they did their prep work for lab. They had to fill out a worksheet that had the foundational information on it, and if they hadn't turned that in, they weren't allowed to participate in lab, because lab always would go at the pace of the least prepared person. So my job as a faculty member was to make sure everyone came prepared. And if everyone came prepared, we could all learn at the same good, solid pace, as opposed to backing up and slowing down for the person that wasn't prepared. So I don't want to scare anybody and say that you can't show up or you can't attend if you didn't do your homework. But again, if you show up knowing the information in that online course, you're going to be able to take what I'm giving you in the 2-day weekend and be able to grasp that, process it, apply it, and use it more quickly, more easily, more efficiently. Okay, so you'll do the online course before you come. And like I said, 4 people have already signed up. I haven't gone in to see if they've started that particular course, but now they have basically 4 months to complete that course. So the sooner you sign up, the better. And there's also an early bird price, which I will get to. Okay, so probably about a week before the in-person weekend, I'm going to hold an optional virtual meeting that will provide a summary of the most important pieces I want to make sure you know before you come to the in-person piece. And in that, we'll talk about what's going to happen, all the practical aspects, what to bring, what to wear, answer any questions anybody has, and that will also be recorded. So if anybody absolutely can't make that meeting that's planning to attend, they'll be able to watch that before they come. And then we'll have day 1 of the experiential weekend, and that will really focus on the manual therapy aspect of what we're going to do. So we're going to apply the current fascia science that you will have looked at in the online course. And how does that apply to making decisions about manual therapy? We're going to practice assessing the quality and the responsiveness of fascial tissue. We're going to observe, we're going to touch. We're going to different characteristics of healthy versus restricted or dysfunctional fascia. What does that look like? What does that feel like? We're going to design and adapt fascia-informed treatment plans. We're going to tailor them to individual clients. And what do clients need, and how can you do that in a variety of settings? Because I want this to be applicable to clients who work, or therapists who work in more traditional settings. We're going to demonstrate and practice fascia-based manual therapy techniques that can be integrated into a variety of approaches. There's lots of different techniques out there, fascia targeting therapies, and we're going to talk about how all of them intersect. We're going to talk about what the science guides us and how we're going to choose one and how to apply it. What are the commonalities of these different fascia targeting therapies, hands-on therapies? How are we going to how can we communicate and talk about to referral sources, to our colleagues and to our clients? How do we explain what's happening in these therapies in a way that is more palatable or acceptable to these shareholders, I guess we could call them, our referral sources? And then we're going to talk about other therapies, fascia targeting tools and approaches like cupping and gua sha, vibration and heat, and how can we or should we integrate those things in with any manual therapy approaches that we're going to use. So we're not really going to be memorizing techniques, but we are going to do enough hands-on that you will start to really feel and experience what the techniques are and be able to use them. All right, day 2 is how can we support healing beyond the table? And I think this is equally important because there are settings where we cannot or don't have time to put our hands on people as much or at all, as much as we want to or at all. So what we're going to look at on day 2 is what are all the things that we can teach people? How can we empower people? And how can we explain how all these things intersect with the fascial system to keep it healthier? How we can use all these things to improve the healing trajectory and maintain quality of life long after therapy is over. So we're going to talk about how we're going to connect lifestyle, movement, stress-related issues to fascial dysfunction. We're going to conduct basic posture and movement assessments through a fascia-informed lens, breath, posture, movement strategies that support fascial health across different client populations, self-treatment, fascia-supporting practices that clients can use safely outside of sessions, and client education strategies that promote long-term change and fascial health. Okay, so a lot of people who are listening to this may already consider themselves a fascia-informed therapist. I hope you do. I think people who should attend are who are curious, open-minded, if you're committed to growth. You want to integrate fascia science, not just fascia targeting techniques, but you want to do that as well. But you want to do it from the perspective of what does the science say. You want CE that provides a deeper experience for you, both personally. Again, I want you to pay attention to this information as much for yourself as for your clients. And if you think your clients deserve care that's connected, personalized, grounded in science, because we're going to get very personal with the things that we talk about. So what about the CE? So the online course should give you about 5 hours of CE. The weekend immersion is 2 6-hour days, so 12 hours of CE. That's a total of 17 hours of CE. And you are absolutely should look at your own state's requirements for continuing education. I look at Nebraska. I've also looked at a lot of the surrounding states. And as long as you have learning objectives, which you will have, and a bio and a certificate of attendance, then it can qualify for CE. Also, same thing with the NBC OT for you OTs out there, should qualify for you as well. Now, there are some more stringent requirements for nursing, for example, so you would want to take a look at if you want to use it for CE. I have people come that do not care whether or not they get CE for it, but I think it's always nice to have that certificate so you can use it. Okay, so it is appropriate for any health care, rehabilitation, or wellness practitioners. And again, designed by an OT, but for all practitioner types. So early registration is going to run through February 15th, and for the 2 days plus the online, that is $397. And after February 15th, it'll be $447. So it is quite a bargain when you look at anything comparable. I'm not sure there's a lot of comparable out there. This is pretty unique. And then we're going to cut off registration on the March 14th so that people are sure to have time to complete that online course. And we, again, are in Omaha, Nebraska. And there is a very nice airport that comes into Omaha, Nebraska, and it is expanding and growing. And there's actually lots of things to do in Omaha. We have one of the best zoos in the world. And so bring your family. It'll be 2 fairly short days, so you can join your family for something fun in the evenings. So if you have questions, you are welcome to email me at fascia-informed@gmail.com, or you can use my mayorwellness@gmail.com to get a hold of me with any questions. But if you go to fascia-informed.com, you can read more about the workshop, the experience, and that's where you can also get registered. So again, 14 for those spaces have already been spoken for. So I hope to see some interesting people come with lots of different perspectives, because I am always open to learning from you all as well. All right, thank you so much, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast, and I hope everybody has a really great day. Thank you. You've been listening to the Fascia-Informed Therapist podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes, and if you'd like to go deeper, check out my continuing education courses, both online and in person. You can find them at fasciainformed.com. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to next time.